Welcome to this channel. In this course, we will learn Angular by following its official documentation by building an example application. What is Angular? Angular is an application design framework and modern web developers platform for creating efficient and sophisticated scalable application. Why we should learn Angular? Angular develops across all platforms. To build applications with Angular and reuse our code and abilities to build application for any deployment target for web, native mobile and native framework. For speed and performance, achieve the maximum speed possible on the web platform today and take it further via web workers and server-side rendering. Incredible tooling. To get immediate Angular specific help and feedback with nearly every IDE and editor. All this comes together so we can focus on building amazing applications rather than trying to make the code work. Loved by millions. From prototype through global deployment, Angular delivers the productivity and scalable infrastructure that supports Google's largest applications. On the Stack Overflow Developer Survey 2021, for all respondents, Angular is at 4, and in professional developers vote, Angular is at 3. Let's set up local application environment. Navigate to Docs and then expand Getting Started. Then click on Setup. To use the Angular framework, you should be familiar with the following: JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. Knowledge of TypeScript is helpful but not required. But in this course, we will work with TypeScript, so you should have basic knowledge of TypeScript. To install Angular on your local system, you need the following requirements: Node.js and npm package manager. I already have installed Node.js and npm on my system. Verify the installation with this command on command prompt or terminal. To install the Angular CLI, open terminal and run the following command. Copy this command and open command prompt or terminal and paste here. On the Linux based operating system, you must use sudo privilege before this command, but on Windows operating system, just use this command. Okay, I already have installed Angular CLI on my machine. Verify the installation. Okay, I already have installed the latest version of Angular CLI. Now create a workspace and initial application. Navigate to a directory where you want to store your newly created application. I am going to store it on desktop and I am going to create a new directory for the project. Now navigate to this directory by cd. Okay, now use this command to create a new project, ng new, and then enter the application name here, in this case my app, hit enter, and you will be asked a question: would you like to add Angular routing? In this course we will work with Angular routing, so I'm going to add this routing on my application. Type Y, but we can add Angular routing in this application at any time. Okay, hit enter. Now select the style sheet format, select the option using arrow key, up and down arrow key. Okay, hit enter. It may take a few minutes to install packages using npm. Angular application has been created successfully and packages installed successfully. Now I am going to open this application with a text editor. My case, Visual Studio Code is preferred. So navigate to this application and type code space dot, hit enter. In this application, expand source and then app, and you will see a root component named app.component.ts. The Angular CLI includes a server to build and serve our app locally. I am going to start the Angular server. At first, navigate to the application and then use this command ng serve. It may take a while. Compiled successfully. Okay, now launch this application on this URL on a web browser. That's it, my app is running. Now we are going to learn Angular component. A component controls a path of a screen called a view. Components define areas of responsibility in the user interface that let you reuse sets of UI functionality. A component consists of three things: a component class that handles data and functionality, an HTML template determines the UI, and component specific styles define the look and feel. Every Angular application must have a root component. Let's create a component using a command on terminal or command prompt. Okay, type this command ng, g for generate and c for component, and here enter the component name, top bar, hit enter. Okay, component created successfully. Every component metadata has three things: selector, template URL, and style URLs. Selector, a CSS selector that tells Angular to create and insert an instance of this component wherever it finds the corresponding tag in template HTML, and template URL, the module relative address of this component's HTML template, and providers, an array of providers for services that the component requires. Copy this selector and open app.component.html and change this tag h1 tag and save this file, and you will see top bar works. We can define a component's application logic, what it does to support the view inside a class. The class interacts with the view through an API of properties and method. Okay, now define a property inside topbar.component.ts. Here topbar component class. Let's define an array property here, a string array, and initialize this array. Okay, now I am going to display this array on top bar of this application. So open topbar.component.html, and here type this HTML tag, type another div, and here type ng4 and change the item with nav and list with the array name and list with the array name nabs. Okay, and here add anchor tag and type nab. Okay, that's it. Let's define a method and print this array on console. Okay, save this file and inspect element and click on console. We must call this method from ng-on-init or constructor method. We will call this method from ng-on-init method. Okay, and see the array. Okay, now we are going to learn Angular templates. Template defines how to render the view of a component. A template combines straight HTML with Angular data binding syntax, directives, and template expressions. Before learning template syntax, you should be familiar with the following: Angular concepts, JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. Okay. Now we are going to learn interpolation, template statement, binding syntax, and property binding. At first, interpolation. Now I am going to displaying values with interpolation. Interpolation refers to embedding expressions into markup text. By default, interpolation uses the double curly brackets characters as delimiters. Okay, so go to the top bar component and define another property of type any and initialize with a value. Okay, and now open topbar.component.html and here use parameter tag, and inside parameter tag use double curly brace and interpolate the property Okay, now save this file and see the output on web browser. Okay, and template expression, add another tag and use double curly brace and type 2 plus 2, it makes 4. Okay, expressions can also invoke methods of the host component such as getValue. Define this method here and return 100. Okay, and then call this method okay. That's it. Template statements are method or properties that you can use in your HTML to respond to user events. With template statement, your application can engage users through actions such as displaying dynamic content or submitting forms. Let's create a button and here add click event. Okay, now update the code in top bar component. I'm going to print a value on console when we click on the get value button. Okay, now reload the application and click get value button and you will see 100 on console. Okay, now I'm going to display the names array on top bar. Okay, delete all of this method. Okay, and delete from here. Add div tag, inside div tag add ul an order list tag and then a list tag. Okay, inside list tag use anchor tag. Okay, and here add directive ng for change the item with nav and list with navs array. Okay, and here add id menu and then here bind nav. That's it. Now add this css style. Okay, and see. Let's understand Angular routing and navigation. To handle the navigation from one view to the next, we use the Angular router. The router enables navigation by interpreting a browser URL as an instruction to change the view. At first, we will create 4 components: home, invoice, about, and contact. Okay, generate 4 component with this command ng g c for component and type home for home component and then generate invoice component and then about component, and then contact us component. Now learn common routing task. We already have generated a routing, F routing, okay, and already have generated 4 components for routing. Okay, there are 3 fundamental building blocks to creating a route. Import the F routing module to F module and add it the imports array. Check it, F module, and here in imports array F routing module has been added and imported. Okay, and then check that you have import router module and routes into your routing module. Router module and routes has been imported. Now I am going to add the route in routes array. This is the basic syntax for adding a route in routing array. Okay, here I am going to add home, so we need to import home component and then add another route invoice, import component, invoice component, and also add another path about, import about component, okay, and also add another route contact. Okay, import contact us component. Okay, now save this file. Now add your routes to your application. Ensure that you have include a router outlet on your root component HTML template. That's it. Okay, now I am going to add the router link in anchor tag. Okay, open top bar component.html and here paste this line and change okay, and also define a pip for lowercase. Okay, now save this file and reload the application and click here home and you will see home works. Then click on invoice and you will see invoice work, and then click on about contact us. Contact us not working because we need to change something. I'm going to fix this issue. Contact, and here change the value contact us. Save this file. Save this file. Okay. Now reload and click here and you will see. Okay. Let's add Bootstrap on this application. Okay. Now save this file and change the app.component.html page. Okay, I am going to add footer. We need to create a component for footer. Add footer here. Okay. Now fix the footer on bottom of this page. Use fixed bottom class. Okay, and that's it. Route order. The order of routes is important because the router uses a fast match wins strategy when matching routes, so more specific routes should be placed above less specific routes. Getting route information. Often, as the user navigates our application, we want to pass information from one component to another. For example, consider an application that displays a shopping list of grocery items, each item displaying a 404 page. To display a 404 page, set up a wildcard route with the component property set to the component you would like to use for your 404 page as follows. At first, create a component page not found, page not found. Okay, and then add to route, copy and paste here. Page not found component. Okay. Now setting up redirects. To set up a redirect, configure a route with the path you want to redirect from, the component you want to redirect to, and a path match value that tells the router how to match the URL. Copy and paste here, and then update this line. I'm going to set the redirect path as home component. Okay, now save this file. That's it. Now try to access a route that is not in the routing list. you will redirect to page not found component. Okay, and a message will be displayed, page not found. Okay, nesting routes. I will create a nested route inside contact us and copy this line, paste here. We need to generate two components, child A and child B. Here we will name these two components phone and email. Okay, and we have to change the component name phone component and email component. Change here email and phone. Okay, now save this file and open contact us HTML template and here add a router link. Let's add a second router outlet to contact us template. Okay, here add router outlet and save this file. Now reload and click on contact us and then contact over phone. That's it. Contact over email. That's it. Now we are going to learn how services work in Angular. Services are a great way to share information among classes that don't know each other. Components should not fetch or save data directly, and they certainly should not knowingly present fake data. Let's rearrange this contact page. Put the router outlet to the bottom of this page and add two parameter and put the link into parameter. Okay, now I'm going to delete invoice component. Then we should delete the imports of invoice component from app.module and app routing module also. Okay, save this file and also delete from the array top per component. Okay, now save this file. That's it. Now let's create a service. Use this command ng g for generate and s for service, and then enter the service name services slash article. This command will generate a folder named services, and inside this folder article service will be generated. Okay, hit enter. You must import the injectable class. Notice that the new service imports the Angular injectable symbol and annotates the class with the injectable decorator. This marks the class as one that participates in the dependency injection system. Here, the article service class is going to provide an injectable service, and it can also have its own injected dependencies. It does not have any dependency yet, but it will soon. The injectable decorator accepts a metadata object for service the same way the component decorator did for our component classes. Okay. Now I am going to add some fake data. Create a new folder inside app directory and name it data, and inside this folder create a new file, name it mockdata.ts. Okay, now export article interface here. And add the properties here. Okay, and now create fake data array. Okay, now add some fake data inside this articles array. Okay, and then save this file. Now open article service, import the article interface and fake data arrays. Now open article service and import the article interface and article array. Okay, import from data mock data. Okay, now import article interface and articles array. Okay, now add a get articles method to return the mock articles data. We'll copy this and paste here and change the method name articles. Here change the type, return type article. Okay, okay, now open home component and here inject the service. To inject the service we need to import the article into component. Import from services here article service. Okay, now import article service class. Okay, now I'm going to inject this class into constructor. Okay, article service injected into home component. Now we can access the fake article data from home component. So define method get articles. I'm going to print this articles data, so use this method console log. Inside console log type this dot articles service. Now call get articles method. Okay, now save this file. Okay, we need to call the get articles method from ng on init method. Okay, now save this file and reload to a browser and click on home, and you will see the fake data. Okay, if we want to display this articles fake data on home component template, we need to define a property, array property, articles of type article. So we need to import article interface. Okay, and then go to get articles method, and here type this dot articles equal this article service dot get articles. Okay, okay, now I am going to display these articles on home component. Here add div tag, and inside div tag use unordered list tag, and here add ng for directives article of articles, and then add list tag. Inside list tag use parameter tag, here bind data, okay, now title, body and author. Okay, that's it. Let's return articles data as observable data. Okay, here the article service dot get articles method has a synchronous signature, which implies that the article service can fetch synchronously. The home component consumes the get articles result as if articles could be fetched synchronously. So import the observable in article service. Now return articles as observable data. Now define a constant variable articles and call a method of, and then put the articles inside this method. Okay, and then return articles. Save this file and then subscribe in home component. You can copy this line from here and then open home component, delete this portion and paste here. Now change heroes with articles. Okay, now save this file and reload, and you will see that's it. Now we are going to learn how to inject a dependency in Angular. Dependencies are services or objects that a class needs to perform its function. Dependency injection, or DI, is a design pattern in which a class requests dependencies from external sources rather than creating them, which is already known to us. Angular's dependency injection framework provides dependencies to a class upon instantiation. Use Angular dependency injection to increase flexibility and modularity in our application. Create an injectable service. We have already created an injectable service injecting services. Injecting services results in making them visible to a component. To inject a dependency in a component's constructor method, supply a constructor argument with the dependency type. So we can say that injecting a service, we must have a constructor in component. Using services in other services. When a service depends on another service, follow the same pattern as injecting into a component. So I'm going to create another service, nggs services. I'm going to name it art service. Okay, open art service. Okay, I'm going to define a new method here, display, and I'm going to return a message here, data from another service. Okay, now save this file and then open article service. Now I'm going to inject art service inside article service, private art service. Okay, now import art service class from art service. Okay, now define a method and now get the message from art service by calling display method from here type this dot art dot display and return. Okay, and then open home component and here define a method my data and then display the message on console log, and here call the d method from article service. Okay, now call this my data method from ng-on-init method. Okay, now reload and see the message data from another service. That's it. Now we are going to learn how to create a form in Angular. Handling user input with forms is the cornerstone of many common applications. Applications use forms to enable users to log in, to update a profile, to enter sensitive information, and to perform many other data entry tasks. Angular provides two different approaches to handling user input through forms: reactive and template-driven forms. Both capture user input events from the view, validate the user input, create a form model and data model to update, and provide a way to track changes. To work with forms in Angular, you have a basic understanding of the following: TypeScript and HTML5 programming, Angular app design fundamentals, and the basic of Angular template syntax. Choose an approach. Reactive forms and template-driven forms process and manage form data differently. Each approach offers different advantages. The reactive forms provide direct explicit access to the underlying forms object model, and compared to template-driven forms, they are more robust, they are more scalable, reusable, and testable. Template-driven forms rely on directives in the template to create and manipulate the underlying object model. They are useful for adding a simple form to an app such as an email list sign-up form. There are key differences between reactive forms and template-driven forms. To working with forms in Angular application, we need to import two modules on root module. Open app.module and here import forms module and reactive forms module and add these two modules in imports array. Okay, now I am going to create a new component, name it sign up. Now I am going to update the top bar component array. Here add the value sign up. Okay, and also add a router path in app routing module. Path Now import the sign up component. Okay, now reload. Okay, sign up component is working correctly. Now create a form in sign up component. Now define the form model directly in the component class. Change the data model, username, and import the form control class from Angular forms. Okay, now open signup.component.html and here create a HTML form. Username, here change the data model, username. Okay, now reload and see. Okay, now I'm going to display the form data on HTML page. Just type username dot value. Okay, for reactive forms. That's it. Now I am going to set up a template driven form. In template driven forms, the form model is implicit rather than explicit. The directive ng model creates and manages a form control instance for a given form element. Define a property and then create a form input in HTML page. Okay, here ng model directive manage the data model of template driven forms. Okay, now I'm going to display the template driven form data. Just write the data model here and save this file. Now reload and type something here. That's it. Now we are going to understand how to replace a form control value. Reactive forms have methods to change a control's value programmatically, which gives you the flexibility to update the value without user interaction. So define a method inside sign up component and then write this line here and change the property with username. Okay, and also add a button and generate a click event on sign up component.html. Okay, now reload. Now enter the value on username field and update this value. Click on update name and see the value has changed with set value method. Okay, grouping form controls. Forms typically contain several related controls. Reactive forms provide two ways of grouping multiple related controls into a single input form using form group and form array. Form group defines a form with a fixed set of controls that you can manage together, and form array defines a dynamic form where you can add and remove controls at runtime. You can also nest form arrays to create more complex forms. Okay, now create a form using form group class. Okay, copy this and paste here, and import form group class from Angular forms and change the form control. Okay, and also update the form here. Use form tag and then add label for username and add input field here. Add the form control name here, username, and also add another field. Okay, now reload. Now add form group on the form tag. Now I am going to define a method for form submit. And we need to add button on HTML page so that we can generate a click event. Okay, and now add this to form tag. Now save this file and reload. Now enter the value, submit, and you will see the submitted data here. Okay, Angular supports nested form groups. Now I am going to create a nested form groups using reactive forms. Copy, okay, and paste here. And also copy this and paste here. Now reload and see. To update the parts of the data model, we use set value and patch value. The method set value set a new value for an individual control. The set value method strictly adheres to the structure of the form group and replaces the entire value for the control. And patch value method replaces any properties defined in the object that have changed in the form model. Okay, now define update profile method in sign up component. And implement this method to update the first name and a street address with new value, and also add a button to generate a click event to update the profile. Now input the value in every form input field. Now submit and then click on update to profile, and you will see the street address and the first name updated. Now I am going to create a form using Form Builder service. The Form Builder service provides convenient methods for generating controls. To working with Form Builder, at first we need to import Form Builder class in component and then inject the Form Builder service and then generate the form contents. Okay, so open sign up component, import Form Builder service from Angular forms and then inject it in the constructor. Okay, and now generate the form contents. Okay, now reload and see, enter the value, any value here, submit and see. Okay, now I am going to validate the form. Use the following steps to add form validation. At first, import a validator function in your form component and then add the validator to the field in the form and then add logic to handle the validation status. At first, import validator function top of the component file and here import validator function validator from Angular forms and then add the validator to the field in the form. We are going to add the validator in username field. Validators, not validator. Okay, this field is a required field. Okay, now display the current status of profile form using interpolation. To see the form status, the form is valid or not. Okay, form status is form is invalid, enter value, then you will see form is valid. Okay, let's create a dynamic form. Form array is an alternative to form group for managing any number of unnamed controls. As with form group instances, you can dynamically insert and remove controls from form array instances, and the form array instance value and validation status is calculated from its child controls. To define a dynamic form, take the following steps. At first, import the form array class and then define a form array control and access the form array control with a getter method and display the form array in a template. I am going to import form array class. Import form array class from Angular forms and then define form array control. Add form control in aliases property using form array. Okay, now define a method to dynamically insert an aliases control into the aliases form array. Define the method here and access the form array control. A getter provides access to the aliases in the form array instance compared to repeating the form using get method to get each instance. So use this method to get the aliases. Okay, now add this HTML code on the component template. Paste here. Okay, ensure that you have defined form array name here, aliases. Okay, and then save this file and reload. Okay, the ng for directive iterates over each form control instance provided by the aliases form array instance. Here see the ng for directives. Here I is the variable that will contain every index of the alias array. Okay, now enter the username to validate the form and then now enter the value on alias field and then add another alias. Okay, then submit and see the form data. Okay, each time a new alias instance is added, the new form array instance is provided its control based on the index. This lets you track each individual control when calculating the status and the value of the root control. So we can remove each time an alias instance. So add a button here. Here define a click event, call a method alias remove. Now pass the index to the alias remove method using I variable. Okay, now define alias remove method in sign up component or your component and then define a variable I of type number. Okay, now implement this method call aliases and then call remove at, and then put the variable inside this method to remove which index you want to remove. Okay, now reload. Okay, we can also add a new field, email field, on this form, and also we can validate. Okay, and now I'm going to add this field on sign up component template. Now change the label for email. Okay, now enter the username, enter password. Okay, now add an alias, add another alias, now add another alias and submit, and you will see aliases array. Okay, now remove the alias. I'm going to remove the alias that contains y value. That's it. H, that's it, and k, that's it. Okay, now we are going to learn how to communicate with backend services using HTTP from front-end application. Most front-end applications need to communicate with a server over the HTTP protocol to download or upload data and access other backend services. Angular provides a client HTTP API for Angular applications. The HTTP client service offers the following major features: the ability to request typed response objects, streamlined error handling, testability features, and request and response interception. Setup for server communication. Before you can use HTTP client, you need to import the Angular HTTP client module. Now I am going to import HTTP client module on app module. Okay, now add the client module in imports array. Now you can inject the HTTP client service as a dependency of an application class. So open article service and inject the HTTP client. Okay, the HTTP client service makes use of observables for all transactions. You must import the RxJS observable and operator symbols that appear in the example snipes. Okay, now I'm going to request data from backend server. I already have implemented a backend server. At first we need to start the backend server. Now I'm going to start my backend Laravel server. Okay, proxying to a backend server. At first create a file and name it proxy config.json in the project's source folder. create a file inside source folder with this name, and then copy and add to this file here. Copy this URL with the port number and paste here. Okay, save this file, and then in the CLI configuration file add this to the angular.json file. Search for serve and paste here. Okay, and change the application name here. The application name is my app. Okay, now save this file and then run the development server with proxy configuration. Okay, run. Okay, and then implement the article service to access the data from backend server. First, define a property URL. Here enter the value of the URL. Okay, and then get the articles from backend server. Now define a method and implement it. Define list articles method and return the articles from backend server, and then open home component. Now change the get articles method with list article. Okay, now save this file and save this file. Okay, okay, now provide this root URL to the backend server to handle and fix the course error. So I am going to backend server, and this is a Laravel application. Here I am going to add this URL to the trusted proxies to resolve the course error. Okay, now reload the application and then click on home and see the backend data displaying on your front-end application. That's it. You will find a tutorial in my channel for full stack Angular and Laravel development for beginners. If you like this video, like, comment and share. Thank you so much for watching this video.